Now you might think that we're finished with the Murray, but there's one last thing I must show you, and I couldn't live with myself if I didn't. But to do that, we have to go right up to the top of Mount Pinnibar, which is one of Australia's highest mountains, and then down the other side and past a cattle station called Tom Grogan. Now see if you can remember that name, Tom Grogan, for that station plays a very important part in one of Australia's greatest stories. But as you can see, it's starting to get dark now, so we're going to camp up here somewhere for the night and continue on in the morning. Now if you're wondering where I'm staying tonight, come and take a look at this. It's a bushman's hut in the snowy mountains here, so we'll just go on inside. The first thing we have, quality veranda. Beautiful things keep the rain off. When we go in, fire screen door keeps out the mosquitoes. Now once you're in here, it's a beautiful setup. The first thing is the fire. Have that going, keeps us nice and warm all night. Then next we have the dining table here. Then we come across the double glazed glass, so you can see what the weather's like outside. Then we have our two beds. And this one here is very comfortable. It actually has a big tear in the back of it, so I flipped it over before. I think that's probably from the rats, but anyway, it's very nice. So, as I said, there's two of those, so you can bring a guest. Now, the door, quality door. It keeps the wild dogs out. Beautiful. So if we go outside now, I'll show you what I'm having for tea. So we have the campfire here. Now I haven't really decided yet, but we have two options: braised steak and onion, or a hearty sorry stew. So it's nice. So that's where I'm staying tonight. Quality bush cabin, the snowy mountains, and they're as comfortable as they look. The trees that you can see behind us, they're all called mountain ash, and the reason I'm showing you these is so you can pay attention and see how the tree line changes as we get further up top of the mountain and the higher in the altitude. And the mountain ash, you can tell them apart by their dark bark and their white coloured trunks in various locations, and their leaves are like this, beautiful big green leaves, and you can see the light colour vein running through them. And the little nuts and the seeds that they have look like so, just little round bally looking things. But anyway, keep an eye on the trees and you'll see soon how everything changes the higher we get up and the colder the climate starts to change to. Well, this is the top of Mount Pinnibar, and as you can see, we have a beautiful view behind me there. Now the cloud cover's starting to come over, so it's getting cold very quick, so I won't stay up here too long. But if you're wondering how high up we are, well, Mount Kosciuszko, which is Australia's highest mountain, is probably 10 or 15 kilometres straight in front of me there over the mountains. Now her height is 2,228 metres above sea level, and Mount Pinnibar here is 1,773. So we're not quite as high, but we're certainly starting to get up there. Now you can also see that the landscape has changed dramatically, and there's no longer those huge big trees that we had just a moment ago. What we have is something quite a bit different. It's just over here, so we're going to take a look. Now these trees that we have here now are called snow gums, and as you can see they're a lot smaller, a lot more bent, a lot more twisted, and that's to help them survive the extreme temperatures up here on the top of these mountains. You see, half the year they have to spend 6 months, 4 months depending on the season, completely under the snow. They may have 2 foot of snow, they may have no snow, they may have 6 foot of snow. But it's their shape and their size and the way that they're designed which helps them survive these extreme conditions. Now if we just have a look here, their leaves are a lot different as well. They're a lot smaller, they're a lot thicker. Everything is completely different about it compared to the trees that we get lower down in the mountains. They're just Really fascinating. So if you're ever around here, take a close look and compare the different trees and the different plants, because you'll find that everything is a lot different. Now, Andrew Barton Patterson was born on the 17th of February 1846 in a small town in New South Wales called Narambla. And it was there he grew up until about the age of 10, where he then moved to Sydney for schooling, and then later in life became a qualified solicitor. But through his love for writing, he would often submit poetry to the local newspaper, but not under his name, but rather under the name of his horse, the Banjo, which is how Andrew Barton Patterson received the nickname of Banjo Patterson. So Banjo became probably Australia's most famous and recognisable author and poet. But probably the most famous piece of work he ever did was a poem called The Man from Snowy River. Now remember earlier on when I asked you to try and remember the name of the cattle station, Tom Grogan? Well, for 30 years a man worked for that station, and he lived just across the river here in the hills of New South Wales, and he was known as the hermit from Tom Grogan. Now for years this man was known throughout this whole area for his great skill as a stockman, a bushman and a horseman. And he was also a great friend of old Banjo Patterson's, who on many occasions would trek right up here into the mountains to visit his friend and to listen to his stories. And the rough bush life took a toll on the hermit from Tom Grogan, and after many years he became ill. But he refused to leave the mountains for treatment. So his friends came in one day to pick him up and take him out. And they were trying to take him to the Corryong Hospital. So his friends loaded him up onto a stretcher and they tried to carry him out over these mountains, but they soon found that it was near impossible over such rugged terrain. So they then put him on his horse. One man sat behind him to keep him upright, and two of his friends sat either side to help keep his balance. And they walked mile after mile all throughout these mountains, well into the night as the snow began to fall. And when possible, they would carry their friend on the stretcher again. And then when it became too rough, they would put him back on his horse and steady him from either side. And they would do this all the way through the mountains, trying to get their friend to the hospital. Then one night just before dusk, they reached a small tin miner's hut which used to stand exactly where I am now. But all that's left and all that remains now is a small pile of rocks which used to be the chimney and some small holes in the ground which used to hold the wall posts. And it was here that they sat their legend of a friend to try and make him comfortable for the night, give him a drink, and they let him sit by the fire. Now they say that during the night this man was in fine spirits, remembering his past and enjoying his memories. However, in the morning this legend of a man had died, and he did so right here. And where this plaque is, and as it reads, Jack Riley, the man from Snowy River, died here 14th of July 1914. The original and only man from Snowy River. Well folks, I hope you've enjoyed yourself as we've travelled the full length of the Murray River. From all the way down to the bottom of South Australia, straight up the middle, and then along the borders of New South Wales and Victoria. It's been a long trip, 2,500 kilometres, and it's taken a month. But it's been great fun. So hopefully you've enjoyed yourself and learned something. So until next time, take care, look after yourself. I'm Bill Gray. average this town gets. It's a whole lot better option. 126 kilometres the river mouth way down the ocean there in South Australia. Mountains just yet. Now behind the weir, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, that way you'll get notified to all my new videos when I upload them. And if you want to contact me, you can do so through my website, the link's in the description below. See you next time.